Let me start by asking you this. Why should Deltans or Delta people pick you as a governor? What makes you the best candidate?
Yeah, so I might not say I am the best candidate because we have not seen the entire array of aspirants that are coming out at this point in time. But I will say that I offer a very credible alternative to the people of Delta State. If we see what we have gone through as a state for the last 19 years, it is not a direction that would want to continue going into the next dispensation. The people who we have in charge at the point in time, the recruitment process is, I would say, faulty, because you have a situation where people graduate through thuggery, people graduate through oliganism, people graduate by displaying one social vice or the other, and then they grow through the ranks into different political offices. That is something that we do not need to encourage going forward, because that will not bring development. So I think looking at my background, looking at where I'm coming from, I offer a very credible alternative for the people of Delta State to consider as their next governor.
Considering the fact that your party, a lot of people are actually concerned that you do not have a serious party structure in the state, and the fact that you do not have the financial wherewithal like the APC and the PDP, current ruling government in the state, as well as the fact that the pedigree of your candidature, what distinguishes you?
Okay, so I'll take them one at a time. The issue around the party, the Action Democratic Party, earlier this month we celebrated across the nation our 1-year anniversary. The party was set up on June 7, finally got approval of INEC June 7, 2017. And within the space of 1 year, we actually have our presence in all 36 states of the Federation, including Abuja. In fact, many analysts have concluded that the Action Democratic Party is the fastest growing political party in Nigeria, based on our growth within the last 1 year. Financially, I would also agree with you that we do not have access to state funds as the current participants do right now, where the people in PDP and APC put their hands into state resources as if it were part of party funds, and that is what they use to fund their electoral pursuits. What we are doing differently is that we are relying more on the people. We run a campaign where people actually contribute towards it. As an individual, I wouldn't say I am a money bag. I am an employee, I'm a worker. And so, but people of like minds, people that are in middle class just like myself, are putting resources together to say, no, we cannot allow these people to continue the mess which we are seeing at this point in time. And on the final analysis, talking about my own profile and my own candidacy, I think I have all that it takes. I am more than qualified to be the governor of the state. Constitutionally, the expectation is that you should have a school cert minimum before you can be governor. I have 2 bachelor's degrees. I have 2 master's degrees. I am a fellow of 3 professional institutes, ICANN, ACCA, and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. And beyond this, I have over 15 years work experience in multinational companies, both in and outside Nigeria. And in terms of exposure and training, I think I have what it takes. It may also interest you to know that at the moment, I also serve as the Deputy President of Pengasan nationwide, defending the interests of over 20,000 Nigerian workers in the oil and gas industry. So putting all this together, I think I am more than qualified, competent, and ready for the task ahead.
Some of the electorates in Delta State, whom we have cause to talk to, says that talking about your candidatures, some have the opinion that you do not have the experience in terms of governance. Some of the opinion, well, why doesn't it start from probably local government chairman or something else? I mean, what do you have to say to these users?
Yeah, so what I've told people at times is that I've been married for 12 years now, and I'm blessed with 2 kids, beautiful wife. Unfortunately, I didn't have any marriage experience before I got married, and I've had a very successful marriage to date. And what that tells me is that experience is as good as knowledge. If you go to the Catholic Church, for instance, the Reverend Fathers are not allowed to get married, but they have a lot of experience because they interact with people, they know what happens, and they can even give counsel, advise people who are married. I've had the opportunity to have gone through various leadership positions, and in all this I've developed myself. I've also gone through different learning opportunities, both locally and outside the countries, and I don't think it is rocket science to run a state. If experience we are talking about is the experience that the current political class is what we are experiencing from the current political class, then it's an experience we need to do without. Because if there is any experience I see them having now, they are very experienced in looting, they are very experienced in abuse of office, they are very experienced in aggrandizement of self, and so on and so forth. I don't think we need that kind of experience moving forward. The type of experience needed, I think I have developed that through other means.
There's been a lot of concerns in terms of issues from Delta, rising from attack on all facilities, oil spills, and including Fulani herdsmen crisis. What are your program sources as a government?
Yeah, so I'll start with the last one. You talk about Fulani herdsmen, and I've told people that I do not think the profession of rearing cows is the exclusive preserve of a particular ethnic group. And I actually say I tend to look inwards when I try to look for solutions to problems. And who says that we should not have cattle ranches in Delta State that are owned by Delta people? Who says that government cannot encourage private businessmen in Delta State who want to go into the rearing of cattle to providing some of the stuff they need and going into productive partnership for the state? So for me, I think the sustainable solution is to empower our people to see that there is actually a business opportunity in that line, and to see how our people will get involved. And by the time we get involved, it reduces your dependence on a particular source of getting beef as at now. So that we address it long term, we would definitely work towards having cattle ranches in Delta State, where Delta State people are really involved in the process. I support states who have also passed the anti-open grazing bill. We are in the 21st century. We need to move forward as a country. We are not going to say something is our culture, is our tradition, and then even in the light of superior argument, we still want to retain those old habits. So we need to find a way to stop open grazing. Is there a better way to do the people management side of it? Probably. With my experience in the trade unionism circle, where we do a lot of engagement, we do a lot of collaboration, I think we'll be able to do those engagements to get all of that sorted out. But definitely we'll be looking in the direction of ending open grazing in Delta State. We'll be looking in the direction of having cattle ranches that are run by people of Delta State in Delta State. And then coming to the other issue of pipeline vandalism and so on and so forth, the truth is we need to do more of educating our people. We cannot defecate or urinate in the same place where we drink from. And the issue of insecurity generally, which translates to even the pipeline vandalism and all of it, it has driven investment out of Delta State. The major oil companies, the last of which was Shell, that relocated not long ago, and we have a few other companies that have relocated over time, and it's not helping us. So it will require us going
for Shell, for example. Shell had divested its interest in Delta, but there was a report that they didn't totally go away. I mean, they still have some interest in the Delta State.
There are, the way the business works, for instance, is you have operational locations where you probably have the oil fields or the gas processing facilities or stuff like that. You would have probably 40–50% of your staff in those operational locations. And then you also have what we call administrative locations. Those people who provide support services to the main business. Those people would also account for about 50% of your staff. That's where you get the accounting functions, you get the HR functions, you get other procurement functions. Those people are not in the field specifically. So with the operations of Shell, using that as an example now, they had a very massive administrative complex in Delta State, Ogunu in Warri, where a large number of staff were working there and doing all sorts of things. And you close that down, it's a lot of people that have gone out of the society. Those people will be requiring plumbers, those people will be requiring carpenters. Those are activities that would have built up the state. Artisans would have work to do, but when the middle class are no longer in the society, what will be the fate of those below the hierarchy of society?
So how do you intend to reverse that trend? Because there seems to also be a moribund, industries in Delta State. How do you intend to reverse the trend?
Yeah, so on the side of government, the first thing we'll do when we come on board is to create a fairly safe security architecture. You are not going to have people come to invest in your society if they don't feel safe. We are conducting this interview in Lagos now, and I can tell you that fair enough, I can drive myself around, I can move around. If you go to Warri, for instance, or you go to any town in Delta State, it's probably going to be difficult to say you just move around without some form of additional security. And so it's a problem that we have caused for ourselves. I was in another Niger Delta state barely 2 weeks ago, and for every 5 meters you move, you see a lot of, every person moving is moving with an entourage of 6 or 7 mobile policemen. You create a militarized society. No investor will come and invest under that kind of atmosphere. So our first job is to see that we address the issue of insecurity. And the experiences in recent times have demonstrated that the insecurity we suffer as a country, as individual states in the country, are actually perpetrated by the political class. It is the thugs who are used during election, and for the next 3 to 4 years, they have nothing to fall back on. They resort to other social vices, and they make the place unsecure for everybody. But with reorientation, we believe that we'll change that, and then we'll also make sure that we bring to book those who refuse to conform to normal social norms.
There's also the issue of gross environmental pollution and degradation of farmlands in the state. How do you intend to address this?
Yeah, so I would say we need to do more. For all the oil-producing companies, for instance, there is always an expectation that is called the asset retirement obligation. So you make sure that you return the environment to the state you met it as at when you started your operations. It's not something that is being implemented. In fairness to some of these oil companies, they provide 1 or 2 services to the host communities, but our societies have been so monetized that at times people prefer to take some cash out than see that the right things are done.
So how do you intend to now change or reorientate a monetized, people who believes cashing out, just like you said? I mean, what are you providing for them as an alternative?
Okay, so the first thing we'll do, we cannot solve all the problem overnight. I'll be as practical as I can with you. We cannot solve all the problems overnight. And even in this political struggle, for instance, the political space is also monetized. And so if you go to the conventional people who say these are stakeholders, all this, you begin to see unnecessary demands in the area of finance before they can do things. And so the finance doesn't really get to the ordinary people. So what we have done as a political struggle, for instance, now is to cut off those so-called middlemen, deal directly with the ordinary people and say, this is about us. And that is where we are beginning to get our support to say, okay, this is the direction we are going. We are not going after money, and we are not doing this. And so when we also come to the issue of environmental degradation and cleaning our environment, we cut off those middlemen. We cut off those middlemen. We go to the ordinary people. If you go to the village, if you go to my village and you call a community meeting, explain to the people would appreciate. It is the leadership within all these structures who have always done the engagement with government or done the engagement with the oil companies that have always changed the general society. So if we go to the ordinary people, we do this explanation and there is sincerity of purpose on our own side, those middlemen will be left hanging. And it's either they comply with what is happening or they face the music.
Interesting. There's been alleged gross marginalization and deliberate shortchanging of some of the oil-producing ethnic nationalities in the state. How do you intend to address this marginalization agitations?
Yeah, so I am aspiring to be governor of the whole of Delta State, but I am not unconscious of the fact that even the resources that are coming to Delta State is mainly due to the operations of the oil companies and the oil produced in the state, and not all the communities actually produce in similar quantum. I have a particular interest in those oil producing communities. Today, I will be honest with you, they do not benefit whatsoever from the oil exploration that is taking place in those communities. Before now, in the 70s, in the 80s, probably in the early 90s, the community still benefited a little from the operation. Because what happens, I was explaining to you that you have an oil operating facility in this location. We take maybe a particular town in Delta State, say Forcados or Escravos, you have an oil operating activity in that town. The workers that come there, they work during the day. In the evening, they go out into the town. And when they go out into the town, even expatriates, Nigerians alike, they go out into the town, they have some drinks, they interact with the community. The community, there are economic activities, and then they get some benefits out of all that. Now, because of insecurity, many of these companies have turned their operational bases to closed camps. And so what does closed camp entail? You use a helicopter, you fly your employees directly to that place, they stay in a place without coming out for 2 weeks or for 1 month, finish your job, you take helicopter again, you take them out. The entire community around it has no benefit whatsoever. Some of these communities are also cut off from the larger, from the inland. So we have the mainland, and then they are like the riverine sides. There are no bridges linking them. I'll tell you the example of Escravos, for instance. Escravos has been supporting oil production activities for more than 40 years. And to date, you cannot drive from Warri to go to Escravos. It's unfortunate. You can imagine how many millions have come out of those places. And with just that road, you would have opened a whole lot of economic activities over there. So they are right to complain of marginalization, the same thing on the Ukwane axis. They are right to complain of marginalization, and part of our primary focus is to make sure that we link those oil-producing communities back to the mainland. And we'll say some of us can decide to stay in those places is because it's not linked today. We are not able to stay there.
Let me take a preview of your economic blueprint for the state if you eventually become governor. There's been alarm that was raised some time ago by the present governor of inheriting 600 billion from debt from the former governor, Governor Emmanuel Baedoaga. And he himself has actually increased his debt burden to about 60 billion. How do you intend to reverse the trend of this debt burden?
Yeah, so I was telling a few people some time ago that if I am elected governor, I can presumably estimate what will be the federal allocations that will come from revenue allocation at the end of the month. I can reasonably estimate what is the current internally generated revenue. But what is most difficult to estimate as we speak is how much debt is being owed or how much debt is being paid on a monthly basis. And I'll be honest with you, I am working with the assumption that when we come on board, there is actually nothing to work with. And that is for us not to be taken unaware and begin to complain from the word go. The major source of revenue to a state are as follows. You get the federal allocation, which is sharing resources that belongs to all tiers of government. And then the internally generated revenue of the state actually comes from personal income tax, the tax that the people in the state actually pay. And that should be on the average about 20% of the income of anybody that is employed in that state. The target and my economic blueprint is built on making sure that we get people to get jobs in Delta State, because the more people get jobs in Delta State, the more the state will generate internal revenue.
What's your view about the rotational arrangement that subsists or exists in the states?
Yeah, so some people call it zoning, some people call it power rotation. I don't know if we can add federal character or state character to it. What I tell people is that poverty has no local government of origin.
Right.
The current governor of the state is from Ika. I'm from Okwe local government. And I can tell you that the suffering that is taking place in Akalokwe, that is in my village, is not different from the suffering taking place in Boji Owa, which is in Ika South local government. So when we want to, if somebody is dying, it doesn't matter if the person is killed by a brother or an enemy. And if you are also sick and you find yourself in the hospital, nobody asks, is it my brother that is treating him, or is he from the other senatorial zone? The first thing you think of, please come and perform this surgical operation and rescue my brother to be alive. We are at a point of life or death. I think where people come from is the least important factor for us to consider at this point in time. We should think of getting the job done.
So how conscious are the Delta State people in, as far as this agenda is concerned? Because many still believes in this so-called zoning or rotational arrangement. How conscious, I mean, how strategically placed are you in order to gain the confidence of the people to, I mean, shelve this idea of rotational arrangement or zoning arrangements that have been put in place by the entrenched government of...
Yeah. So what you actually see is that it is the existing political parties that use that formula to create some form of peace and harmony within them, because it is like a cabal. Okay. And the only way that they can enjoy relative peace in what they are doing is to say, okay, after my turn, it will be your turn. So allow me to go and do what I'm doing. When I'm done, you go and...
Exactly. That has been in place, I mean, for the past 18 years of governance in Delta State. Governor Ibori left the stage, and his other lieutenant, Tuduanga, came in. I mean, thereafter, Okoa, in fact, the present governor. These people still belong to the same hegemony. How do you intend to break that hegemony?
We are going to the people. We are not going to. So in this struggle we've started, we are going straight to the ordinary people, letting them to appreciate the severity of the issues at hand. And I can also tell you that the reception we have been receiving is overwhelming. We are not using the current structures because the current structures have failed us. It is for deliberate reason that we selected the Action Democratic Party as a platform to drive this process. One thing that the Action Democratic Party offers, for instance, is the fact that we are going to have direct primaries, option A4 type of primaries, where every member of the party is a delegate for selecting who is the eventual flag bearer. What that has cut off, it has cut off political racketeering, that you need to go and settle some political gladiators before you can get the ticket of the party. This time around, I need to go and meet the ordinary people who will be the delegates, which is what we are doing. The same way, when we talked about power rotation and whatever, the ordinary man that is in Okpanam, the ordinary man that is in Obiaruku, the ordinary man that is in Ole or Gbaramatu, that or in Kuku, that ordinary man does not care who the governor of Delta State is. What that man is after is, am I getting value for service? Am I feeling the impact of the government? Two of us, we are waiting for budgets to be signed. How many Nigerians are really bothered? How does the budget translate into our daily lives? People can't see how it ties. And so that it has delayed for 6 months. Most business it is all about them sharing money among themselves. So I think until when people realize that some of these things are tied to us, and then they now believe that, okay, somebody is actually coming with a message to say we are talking about the people, and less about the political process, I think it's part of our strategy.
Finally, Deltas have over the years suffered from maladministration, and they are very desirous of a real change in the governance of the state. How do you intend to bring this to the fore?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll tell you is sincerity of purpose. And after you've gotten sincerity of purpose, it is also important how you get into office. Now, if one major political financier comes to me today and tells me, Frank, don't worry, this election is going to cost you. INEC allows you to spend up to 200 million in a governorship race, so I'm going to give you the 200 million, go and run this election. You know what I've done? I'm no more the governor of the state. I have mortgaged the leadership of that state to the whims and caprices of the man that sponsored that election. And it is for that for that reason that I have deliberately refused to approach anybody as project financier. Instead, I have opened it up. As ordinary people, we need to choose to say we want to rescue our state, and we need to contribute what we call in local parlance isusu or whatever. Let's all contribute. It will cost us money as a people, but we all contribute money and we'll get this done. At the end of the day, I become indebted to the people that have placed me there in the first place. And for me, that is my model, and that is what is required to. If you go with the current structure, where people come and pick you and do this, we will never get a messiah from the current structure. That's the unfortunate reality.
Comrade Frank, thank you very much, and we wish you the best in your endeavors.